There was a big challenge in developing this. I noticed at Bletchley Park that when schools came in, the girls were pushed to one side and the boys took over the computers. And I decided something needed to be done. So I started Cyber Girls first, and I went to universities in Essex and in Cardiff, and we brought in girls from schools, and we realised how talented they were, but they just hadn't had the opportunities. And now, after 9 years, they're already graduating from universities, getting into apprenticeships. We've got 100 girls in apprenticeships at the moment, and that means they've got no debts. So that's really was the driving force. I heard things like, you don't want to do computers, it'll ruin your nails. And oh, my mother said women shouldn't go into computers because all the jobs will be done by robots. That was the sort of patronising stuff. So it was an education thing. We had to teach these girls. And when they began to see what they could do and that women in the industry could do, that's the big crucial thing. Bringing in women who are successful from Microsoft and JP Morgan and Cull Technology, all women coming in, and from GCHQ to show them that women can do it. All these companies are putting their effort into it because they see girls are 50% of the population and they're only providing 12% in cyber. You only got to look at Manchester, the amount of vacancies in the cyber. I think it's 56,000 vacancies in Manchester alone. Well, you imagine that around the country is a lot. We do try very hard to get to the girls from deprived areas. I mean, if you've got a public school, they've got best teachers, they can attract the best teachers, they can pay for all the high-end equipment. I mean, there's schools that haven't got a computer. We have what we call a round table. So each group of 8 girls sits around a table, and one person who's done the presentation and works in cyber goes around and spends 10 minutes with each group of girls so they can ask questions, because some girls don't want to put their hands up and ask questions, but they're quite happy in front of their friends to ask questions. And then they move on to the next table and the next table. And that is a huge success. All the schools come back and say, that was the highlight, where the girls could ask questions. So we think we're improving all the time, and we're learning from what we're already doing. Because now schools are asking if they can come. Can we bring more girls? So we think we're on the right track. I've now got Wendy, who I can turn to for educational help. If this is going to happen, what do you think? Because, all right, I've been through the education system, but I didn't run the education system. So you've got to know when you're doing the right thing or something that you should avoid.
Well, the gaps and challenges in educating girls are still here. And I say are still here because I'm quite appalled that those gaps and challenges still exist. In the same way as I think challenges for head teachers exist today in a similar way to those I faced when I first became a head several years ago. And I think that with cyber, it's a case of confidence, similar to that which young women have in facing maths and science. I think there is a place for some schemes where young people should be taught independently of each other, so that they can be nurtured and developed in the way best suited to their style. And these challenges, they're narrowing, and part of me says, well, shouldn't it be cyber students as opposed to cyber girls? And well, it'd be wonderful if that were the case, but it isn't. And I think we're probably a number of years away from that, and therefore it is important that we do our best to help break down those barriers and enable young women to take their place in the digital world alongside their male peers.
There were 3 girls I met at our very first event, nearly 9 years ago now, and they were in the corner playing, and the boys were on the computers. And I went over and spoke to them, and I realised exactly how talented they were. And I said, have you thought about doing it at GCSE? She said, well, I don't really know what we can do. And I said, well, you're going to learn today what can be done. And those three all got into Cambridge and they've graduated. And another girl, and she has just got 9 9s and 1 8 at GCSE, and she's going to do cyber at university. So we are getting a success. It's taking a while, but it's gradually improving all the time. There is so much talent out there which we've got to harvest.
Being an ambassador means that you're very happy to shout out about something in a positive way and to promote it. And I was delighted when I found what Pat was doing. The way in which one can be an ambassador is by leading by example, of not being afraid to show what I can do, as well as what I believe in the girls could do. And I think talking to those young people at the various events that Pat has been running for such a long time now, and the fact that teachers in schools ring her and ask, really beg her to lay on another event for the next year's batch of young women, goes to show that it's really worthwhile doing what she does. But I think the benefits are twofold, probably multifold, but in particular, two things strike me most. One is the fact that they have their eyes opened to the opportunities in this line of careers out there by talking and hearing and working with, through interactive exercises, young women who are not far away from their own age. Some are maybe only 5 or 10 years older, who've recently experienced the challenges that they themselves will follow. So I think that's really important. They see the wide range of careers where digital is important. And secondly, it's rather like the hidden curriculum in a school. It's all those little things that add up and would inspire a young woman to have confidence.
Finding the talent and using it in the right direction. It's no good putting a square peg in a round hole. I mean, when I left the convent school, they said you can either do maths, physics and chemistry or English, history and economics. There was no choice, there was no mixing. And I said, well, I don't, maths, physics and chemistry is not for me. So I became an economist. But there was no choices like they have now. I mean, what they can do now is incredible.